getting round to this video I promised you probably back at the start of the season when I said that we would do a video looking at the history of the California Golden Seals, who of course was the inspiration behind our Sharks 2022-23 reverse retro for jersey. Yeah, I know that 22-23 has been and gone, but I was going to get around to it eventually. And so here we go. So today we're going to chart through the history of the California Golden Seals. So it's mainly going to be a lovely slideshow, and you get to hear the history. So we're only here to say hello and goodbye. But but before we do, let me give you a quick little bio to the California Golden Seals. So they were founded in 1961 in the WHL, and joined the AHL in 1967 as an expansion team. They were part of that second six, you want to call it that. That big expansion in 1967, which doubled the league. So they've had various history throughout their years. They were known as the San Francisco Seals from 1961 to 66 in the WHL. Then, in 96-67, their last year in the WHL, they were known as the California Seals, which then they kept in 1967, in their first year in the AHL. Then from 1967 to 1970, they were known as the Oakland Seals. Then from 1970 only, they were known as the Bay Area Seals. And then from 1970 to 1976, they were known as the California Golden Seals. And then their final years, from 1996 to 1978, they were known as the Cleveland Barons. So the home arena was Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Arena. They resided in Oakland, California. Their colours were, from 1967 to 1970, Kelly Green, Royal Blue, White. And then from 1970 to 74, Kelly Green, California Gold, Snow White. And their final years from 1974 to 1976, Pacific Teal, Gold, White. In terms of silverware, they won nothing. Zilch. Nada. Nothing. No Stanley Cups. No Commons Championships. No league titles. No division championships. So, zilch. Nada. Nothing. Okay. That's a quick bio. Or bio. I should say bio. I should say. We will leave you now. We'll see you at the end of the video to say goodbye. So, let's now tell the history, shall we? Okay, Sharky. Should we start with the foundings of the California Golden Seals? So, in 1966, the AHL announced that 6 expansion teams would be added as a new division for the 1967-68 season, officially because of a general desire to expand the league to new markets, but also to squelch the Western Hockey League's threat to turn into a major league. The San Francisco Seals, as they were known, were one such team from the WHL. The AHL awarded an expansion team to Barry Van Gerbeek for the San Francisco Bay Area. Van Gerbeek decided to purchase the WHL club with the intent of bringing them into AHL as the expansion team the following season. Van Gerbeek had planned to have the team play in a new arena in San Francisco, but that new arena was never built. He decided to move the team across the bay from the Cow Palace in Daly City to Oakland to play in the new Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. And of course, a lot of Sharks fans know the Cow Palace was, of course, very instrumental to the Sharks' early years, because, of course, the first 2 Shark seasons we would play in the Cow Palace while SAP season was being built. So he renamed the club the California Seals, and this was done in an attempt to appeal to fans from San Francisco and to address complaints from the other NHL teams that Oakland was not considered a major league city and would not be able to draw fans. Well, look at the Oakland Athletics, Major League Baseball, that can prove you wrong. Yeah. A year later, little off topic. Anyway, a year later, Van Gerwen brought the Seals into the AHL as an expansion team. The team participated with the other 5 expansion clubs in the 1967 AHL expansion draft. However, the terms imposed by the established original 6 were very one-sided in their favour. The existing teams were permitted to protect nearly all their best players. Thus, the players available for selecting were mostly cast-offs, aging players well past their prime, and career minor leaguers. To bolster their roster and also to maintain a balance of familiarity and continuity of existing Seals fans, the team retained a portion of the club's WHL roster, such as Charlie Burns, George Swarbrick, Jerry Allsquist, Tom Hurley, and Ron Harris. The Bay Area was not considered a particularly lucrative hockey market. How wrong they were. The terms of a new television agreement with CBS called for 2 of the expansion teams to be located in California. Other than the Kings, there were no other prospect franchise applicants of similar pedigree to the Seals. Nevertheless, while the WHL Seals had drawn well at the Cow Palace, the team drew poorly in Oakland once they entered the AHL. The plan to bring Phantom and Sasko failed. On November 6, 1967, Van Gerwen announced that the team's name would be changed to the Oakland Seals, although the league did not register the change until December 8th to focus more on the East Bay. Moving on now to the team's struggles. So the Seals were never successful at the gate, even after the name change, and because of this poor attendance, Van Gerwen threatened on numerous occasions to move the team elsewhere. First-year coach and general manager Bert Olmsted publicly advocated the move to Vancouver, resulting in an offer from Labatt's Brewery to purchase and relocate the team to the Canadian city, as well as proposal to move the team to Buffalo from the Knox brothers, who, like Vancouver, had been shut out of the 1967 expansion. The AHL, not wanting to endanger the TV deal with CBS, rejected both proposals. As a compromise, the AHL agreed to expand again in 1970, adding both Vancouver and Buffalo, who of course are the Canucks and Sabres of today. The Knoxes brought a minority share of the Seals in 1969, only to sell it a year later in order to help fund the Sabres. This, as well as the team's mediocre on-ice performance, led to major changes to both the Seals front office and the roster. At least 7 of the 20 Seals players remained after the first season. The new look Seals were somewhat more successful. In their second season, they improved to 69 points, which, while still 7 games below 500, was good enough for second place in the all-expansion West Division. The Seals were actually favoured to win their first round playoff matchup against the LA Kings, but were upset in 7 games. Oakland regressed to 58 points the following season, but still edged out Philadelphia for the final playoff spot on a tiebreaker. Their second appearance was brief as they were swept by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Those were the only 2 years that the franchise made the playoffs. The league's rejection of a proposed move to Vancouver prompted a lawsuit that was not settled until 1974. The Seals organization filed a suit against the AHL, claiming that the prohibition violated the Sherman Act. The Seals asserted the league's constitution was in violation by prohibiting clubs from relocating their operations, and that the relocation request was denied in an attempt to keep the San Francisco market in the NHL, and thereby discouraged the formation of a rival team or league in that location. The court ruled that the AHL was a single entity and that the teams were not competitors in an economic sense. So, the league restrictions on relocation were not a restraint of trade. For the 69-70 season, the team was sold to Transnational Communications, whose investors included Pat Summerall and Whitney Ford. However, the group filed for bankruptcy after missing a payment and relinquished the team to Van Gerwen, who put the team back on the market. So, moving on now to Charles O. Finley purchased the franchise. So, prior to the 1970-71 season, Charles O. Finley, the flamboyant owner of baseball's Oakland Athletics, purchased the Seals. Finley and roller derby boss Jerry Seltzer had both put in a bid on the team, although Seltzer's offer was slightly better and included a more detailed plan for revival. A majority of actual owners from the old establishment voted in favour of Finley. General manager Bill Torrey left by mid-season due to clashes with Finley. Finley then renamed the team to the Bay Area Seals to begin the 1970-71 season. But after just 2 games into the season, on October 16, 1970, he changed the team name to the California Golden Seals. Following a number of other marketing gimmicks intended to promote the team to the fans, amongst them changing the Seals' colours to green and gold to match those of the popular A's. I can tell you, as an A's fan myself, those colours are still popular today. The Kelly green and gold, they are still very, very popular today. Anyway, back to the Seals. The team's uniform crest was now the word Seals in a unique typeface, and that of course is what we used as inspiration for our Burst Retro this year. But an alternate logo using a sketch based on a photo of star player Carol Bernandez was used on marketing materials such as pennants, stickers, team programs. The original 1967 California Seals logo was recut in green and gold. It was often seen on trading cards and other unofficial material, but was never adopted by the team. The Seals are remembered for wearing white skates, but initially Torrey convinced Finley to use green and gold painted skates instead, as team coloured skates were a trend of the period. However, it was all for now. The Seals finished with the worst record in the NHL that year. Other innovations that Finley Seals incorporated were the inclusion of player names on the back of the jerseys, which then set the precedent for today's 32 current NHL teams. So, woohoo! Isn't it always California leading the way on state when it comes to innovations, isn't it? Yeah, it's always us in California. We always seem to have the idea first and everyone else copies. Anyway. Identifying players in the same fashion. Finley was also the first owner to allow players to fly first class on commercial flights to games, thus starting a trend that ultimately culminated in NHL teams regularly chartering aircraft by the 21st century. The Seals regularly used the new Boeing 747s the airlines had put into service at the time. Finley also introduced the flamboyant green and gold Seals luggage, which all players and coaches were required to carry to identify them as a Northern California AHL team. On May 22, 1970, the Seals traded their pick in the first round of the 1971 AHL amateur draft, it was known back then, to the Montreal Canadiens along with Francis Lacombe in return for Montreal's first round pick in the 1970 draft, which the Seals selected Chris Odd to list them. Ernie Hick and Cash. As a result of the Seals' dreadful season, the Canadiens had the top pick in the 1971 draft and used it to select future Hall of Fame member Guy Lafleur. This transaction now ranks as one of the most one-sided deals in NHL history. Alright, the next step in our timeline is actually a bit of a shocker. We now go to under the ownership of the AHL and Mel Swig. So the team rebounded in 1971-72, but the arrival of the World Hockey Association, the WHA, wiped out most of those gains. Finley refused to match the WHA's contract offers, causing 5 of the team's top 10 scorers of the previous season to bolt it to the new league. Devoid of any defensive talent, save for goaltender Giles Mershay, the Seagulls sank into last place again in 1972-73, where they remained for the rest of their history. Although the original restructuring in 1974-75, including the revamped format in which 3 teams in each division made the playoffs, the team's efforts were frustrated by their placement in the Adams division, with the strong Sabres. Yes, I know that probably might think, hang on, what? Given today's Buffalo Sabres, but okay, fair news. Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs of the day. The Seals once again finished well out of playoff contention and were notably the only team to lose at home to the expansion Washington Capitals. Finley soon lost patience with his struggling hockey team, especially given the contrast to his World Series champion Athletics. Because of course back at the time, in the 70s, the A's were dominant, winning 4 World Series titles in Oakland. Most of those happened in the 70s, there's one in the 80s, so you can see why Philly probably grew frustrated there. You know, one market, one sport as well, the other not. So he then tried to sell the Seals, but when no credible buyer came forward who were interested in keeping the team in the Bay Area, he sold the team back to the league for, wait for it, $6,585 million. A 1973 attempt by Finley to sell the team to Indianapolis interests who planned to relocate the team to that city was rejected by the AHL's Board of Governors. Indianapolis, that's Minnesota. Oh, it's capital of Indiana. Okay, never mind. In early 1975, newspapers reported that the Seals and Pittsburgh Penguins were to be relocated to Denver and Seattle, respectively. Now, of course, both those markets would have meant to get AHL teams. Seattle's coming way far later than Denver's did. An arrangement that would have seen the 2 teams sold to groups in those cities that had already been awarded conditional franchises for the 1976-77 season. At the same time, the league announced that if the Seals sale to the Denver group was not completed or new ownership found locally, the franchise would be liquidated at the end of the season. Unsurprisingly, the Denver arrangement fell through, and the league ran the Seals for more than a year until a group headed by San Francisco hotel magnate Melvin Swig bought the team on July 28, 1975, with the intention of moving the team to a proposed new arena in San Francisco. The team fell just short of the playoffs, and after a mayoral election, plans for the new arena were cancelled. With a new arena out of the picture, the league dropped their objection to the relocation of the franchise. Now on to the end. Ooh, it doesn't message, doesn't it? Now on to the end. So, although attendance was finally showing some improvement, and the team playing better, debatable, minority owners George and Gordon Gunn persuaded Swig to seek approval to move the team to their hometown of Cleveland. The team's final game in Oakland was a win over the LA Kings on April the 4th in 1976. League approval for the move was granted on July 14, and the team was renamed the Cleveland Barons after the city's old AHL squad. That's it. Now that's interesting. That's another tie to Sharks history, actually, because I believe our first AHL team was the Cleveland Barons. Oh, it's our second. Yep. So in 2001, we moved our AHL team from. Well, our first AHL team was actually in the. Kentucky, the Kentucky Purple Blades, 1996. And in 2001, we moved them to Cleveland to become the new Cleveland Barons, who operated until 2006. So yeah, so there you go. So that's another interesting note there. So another connection to Sharks history, but we'll carry on. So unfortunately, details were not finalised until less than 6 weeks before the start of the 1976-77 season, which basically rendered the Barons all but invisible in Cleveland. After two more years of losses and with attendance worse than it had been in Oakland, the Guns, who were by this time majority owners, were permitted to merge the Barons with the equally strapped Minnesota North Stars on June 14, 1978. The merged teams continued as the Minnesota North Stars under the Guns' ownership, but assumed the Barons' place in the Adams Division. And of course, as we all know, the North Stars eventually relocated to Texas following the 1992-93 season to become the Dallas Stars. But as we all know, of course, Minnesota would eventually, at the turn of the new millennium, get a team back. So, it worked out there. The Cleveland Barons remain the most recent team in an established North American major professional league to fold. They were also the last actually playing AHL team to do so since the Brooklyn Americans in 1942. And the last team to cease operations since the Montreal Maroons had their franchise formally cancelled in 1947. As a result, the AHL consisted of 17 teams for the 1978-79 season. So let's now move on to the Seals' legacy, and I know what you're thinking, what legacy, given what you've heard so far today in the video. But they actually, as you see with our Roberta Retro this year, actually did make a legacy worth honouring. So the current AHL team in the Bay Area, the San Jose Sharks, has a historical connection to the Seals. Years after the Barons North Stars merger, the Guns wanted to bring hockey back to the Bay Area. Now, they originally asked the AHL for permission to move the North Stars there in the late 1980s, but the league was unwilling to abandon a traditional hockey market like the Twin City. Ooh, that smells a bit of hypocrisy, since the North Stars eventually did relocate, but hey. Alright, yeah, fair, each their own. Meanwhile, a group led by former Hartford Whalers owner Howard Baldwin was pushing the AHL to bring a team to San Jose, where an arena was being built. Eventually, the league reached a compromise, which was struck, whereby the Guns would sell their share of the North Stars to Baldwin's group, with the Guns receiving an expansion team in the Bay Area to begin play in the 1991-92 season. Which, of course, for the first 2 years of the Sharks, they would play in Cow Palace, where the Seals did used to play. We'll go on to that in a moment. So in return, the Sharks would have the rights to players from the North Stars and then participate with the North Stars as an equal partner in an expansion draft with the new franchise. On May the 5th, 1990, the Guns officially sold their shares of the North Stars to Baldwin and were awarded a new team in the Bay Area that, of course, eventually became your well-known Sharks of today. Ironically, as I just mentioned, in their first 2 seasons in the league, because obviously SAP Centre was not ready. Now, this is something you would not get today, but because back then, times are different, SAP Centre was not ready, the Sharks played their home games in the Cow Palace in Day City, the same facility the actual direct as a home to Seals in 1967. While a new permanent home arena in San Jose was being completed, and of course SAP Centre was completed in 1993. So a little bit of Seals heritage there. Dennis Maruk was the last Seals player active in the NHL, retired as a member of the North Stars in 1989. The last former Seals player in any league was George Proust, who was active in Germany until 1994. Though no longer an active team, the Seals remained a popular subject and are the subject of multiple works. In 2006, Brad Kunzberg published the first book on the Seals franchise, Shorthanded: The Untold Story of the Seals, Hockey's Most Colourful Team. In January 2017, filmmaker Mark Gressmer released his documentary, The California Golden Seals, Story on iTunes. In 2016, the Seals tribute site, GoldenSealsHockey.com, was founded to help promote the November 2017 release of the book. The California Golden Seals, A Tale of White Skates, red ink, and one of the NHL's most outlandish teams, which covers the Seals and the Barons' entire history, including their 6 years in the WHL. And of course, to bring it back together, of course, this past season, the Sharks' 2022-23 reverse retro jersey was based on the 5 years of the Golden Seals, which of course was released obviously this season as part of the second wave of the reverse retros. Now, I of course have covered it in other tier report bits on how I've didn't really like our reverse retro, but it did prove to be quite popular amongst some other Sharks fans. So the jersey paid tribute to the Bay Area's original NHL franchise, the California Golden Seals, with their reverse retro uniform for 2022-23. Even though the Sharks do not recognise the Seals Barons' statistical history, the franchise's 1978 merger with the Minnesota North Stars was effectively undone in 1991 when the newly formed Sharks stocked its roster with half the players from the North Stars organization, mostly from their minor league affiliates. And I noticed we did the Sharks wordmark in the similar fashion to the Seals. Pretty awesome right there. So there is a legacy, but you just have to ask yourselves what legacy. But there is a legacy there. Well, I don't know about you, Sharky, but I thought it was very educational. And yeah, real opportunity to learn a little bit more about the inspiration that was behind our retro jerseys for this year. So there you go. That was your look back at the history of the California Golden Seals. Let us know what you thought of it. But until next time, that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching today's show. If you loved it, do click like button. If you're not subscribed, check and make 6 color. That which ask guys in someone where your cargo versus of teleport bids. You can the bell says content my fish hand and don't get subscribed to the short podcast. Okay, podcast plan because it was F100 season. And also let's say spell off on Sharky. And for me, also says so I'll leave now.